Hey everybody, I'm Anne-Christine Diaz, Creativity Editor at Ad Age. Welcome to our weekly look back at the best creative ideas of the week, the Creativity Top 5 Live, and I'm here with
Alexandra Jardine, Associate Creativity Editor at Ad Age in London.
So Ishan Sherwood, our other Associate Creativity Editor, is on vacation this week, well-deserved vacation. So once again, it feels a little lonely. I like doing things in threes. Yay!
Welcome to the Playhouse.
I've been out in this hallway for weeks. I'm finally glad you let me in.
So we have our Assistant Managing Editor, EJ Schultz, joining us from Chicago, and we're so happy to finally have EJ on this. We've been wanting him on for a long time, but he's always super busy. So welcome, EJ.
I'm truly honored to be on this show.
Great to have you here.
So, and hi to everybody joining us for the first time and also rejoining us. We have, I'm glad a lot of you are coming back week after week. So tell us where you're watching from, and we will give you a shout out once we get your names together. So this week, we had a bunch of interesting stuff. It wasn't all holiday stuff. So it was a nice assortment of things, funny, serious. So Alex, tell us about this first one that we have. This was interesting.
Sure, yeah. This is a campaign from Beats. We've seen a lot of powerful work from Beats recently. We had last month a very hard-hitting spot that questioned the viewers' love for Black culture. And then last week, we had some of its ads featuring the likes of Naomi Osaka with anti-racism messages as well. And this week in the UK, it continues that anti-racism message with an outdoor campaign from Uncommon. It came in just as the UK Premier League reopened to real life in-person fans and matches, and it projected a message on the buildings of some of the top clubs across the country. The words say, "As we return to the stands, let us promise to leave racism where it belongs in the past." We can see some of the projections there. They went to clubs like Liverpool, Anfield, and Tottenham Hotspur, and some of the top places. And it comes. Sadly, there's been a real resurgence of racist sentiment in soccer, not just in the UK, but in Europe. There was an incident last week involving Millwall fans, and then only the other day, players actually walked off in a game between Paris Saint-Germain and Istanbul because a referee used racist language. So it's a very timely message.
Yeah. And it's interesting how this year in particular, it feels like Beats' voice is getting so much stronger. Like the spot that we saw from Translation where the brand asked, "But do you love me?" Focused on Black creators or Black celebrities, acknowledging that, yeah, they're famous, but do these fans, these people who preach their love for Black culture, do they actually see the people and love the people who are creating all these amazing things? So yeah, it's been an awesome year for Beats in terms of its voice. But EJ, with the recent campaign, we'd seen something similar before, right?
Right. I actually really like this Beats ad. It's really creative, but I'm not sure it's how original it is. Because we saw an ad actually way back in September from a Belgian soccer league called Jupiler, and that ended with a tagline, "Bring passion back, keep racism out," which was very similar in terms of, okay, when fans come back, let's make sure, let's keep the racism out of the stadiums. So it's a similar idea.
But in general, too, it is really impressive how just the sports world in general is getting pretty vocal about this, going back all the way to Nike and Colin Kaepernick. It's becoming kind of a norm to stand up. I mean, it's not surprising given what happened this year. It's almost maybe a prerequisite for brands now.
Brands and leagues. obviously the NBA, when they came back in the Orlando bubble, put Black Lives Matter on the floor, which was, very high profile way of leaning into the cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think brands, sponsors, players, everybody's getting this message across. It's just a shame that the fans, well, some of them don't seem to be listening.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of anti-racism, we saw a completely different approach to spreading that message. And it was from Cartoon Network. Can we take a look at that?
All right, class. Can anyone tell me who invented the light bulb?
Thomas Edison!
That's not entirely true. The light bulb could more rightfully be attributed to Lewis Latimer, the black inventor behind the filament inside the bulb.
His invention made light bulbs affordable and efficient enough for the general public, bringing electric light into households around the world.
Well, so now you know. Wait, is that it? Hold on. We're not going to mention why he invented the filament? To create a better standard of living for people who had only just been freed from slavery? Are we going to ask why kids are apparently learning about Thomas Edison?
Thomas Edison!
Ugh, and not learning about Lewis Latimer? These textbooks are incomplete. There were black Roman warriors, black medieval knights, black classical musicians, black cowboys, black fighter pilots. Where are they? I worry about you humans because you only live, about 100 years? You rely on these stories to know your own history. Thanks to systemic racism, most of your storytellers prioritize white accomplishments, which leaves you with an incomplete picture. Ask yourself as you're learning history, who's telling the story? Was this modified to make white readers comfortable? Are major details being left out that would credit people of color and center their point of view? Honestly, I should have asked for script approval before agreeing to do this.
We'll do some rewrites. I'm sorry, we didn't know.
Well, so now you know. I swear.
So this is interesting. This is actually the second installment of an anti-racism PSA campaign from the Cartoon Network, but this one went viral this week, and I thought it was really interesting in that it feels just like content from the show, and it's appropriate for this particular show itself, which is it's been a pretty vocal series. Like there's a lot of LGBTQ issues that they deal with. It's actually Cartoon Network's, Steven Universe is actually Cartoon Network's first show created by a woman. So, the show itself does take a stand. So I think it was appropriate to use these characters for it. One thing I thought, does the message feel a bit heavy-handed if it feels like it's like spelling everything out? But then I thought, this is teaching kids. This is how kids learn. And when I thought it was cool because it kind of reminded me of my daughter when she gets outraged about certain things that she probably learns on TikTok. Like she was speaking the way Pearl was speaking, or she speaks in the way that Pearl speaks in that PSA.
Yeah, so, I think it's a good way of getting it across to kids, because it is like in their language, it makes everything very, very obvious and as if you've only just thought of it.
Yeah,
a minor little creative point here, but are they purposely kind of playing off the old the more you know kind of line from the old NBC PSAs?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why, it's what I thought of when I heard them, because now you know versus
did you know?
The more you know, it's similar and a little bit.
Yeah, well, I feel like if you have this consistent line, it helps to drive the point home. But I didn't even pay attention to that. I was more compelled by the content of the clip itself. Alex, you actually thought it was a clip from the show too.
Yeah, and I haven't even seen this show, but it just seemed to me like a clip from a show. So yeah. I was kind of surprised when you said it was actually designed as a PSA. I thought it was a clip that had gone viral.
Do we know where this is showing? When we say PSA, do we mean like, is it being shown on Cartoon Network only, or are they obviously
on social? I think it got a lot of traffic.
It was on TikTok, I think, or maybe someone just put it on TikTok. I don't know.
It was definitely on TikTok, like officially on
okay.
on TikTok. But also too, this particular show, it's worked with brands before and their messages. Alex, you had covered something, I think a couple years back, that used the Steven Universe characters, but I think it was more in support of girls. You know, it was I think a partnership with Dove to instill confidence in girls. So it's a nice continuation of what the show has been doing with brands and in terms of instilling public service messages. But anyway, going from that, we have another holiday ad. EJ, you want to tell us about that one?
Sure. This comes from Molson Coors. Michelle St. Jacques, the CMO there, has been kind of stepping up their kind of creative muscle there and putting out a lot more work more continuously. We can talk about a Miller Lite ad after this one that I want to mention too. But this one is basically kind of putting a new twist on the holiday season with introducing a new character called the Beer Man, who is sort of like a bizarro version of Frosty. And he's very 2020, disheveled. His head's not even round. His mouth is in a permanent droop. But then he comes to life and sings a song that many of us will recognize, at least people in my age group. So let's play that one.
Down this morning and the sun was gone. Turned on some music to start my day. Lost myself in a familiar song. I closed my eyes and I slipped away. It's morning and feeling when I hear that old song is so play. I begin dreaming. It's morning and feeling. Yeah.
We had a comment saying that I thought it was going to be Piano Man, but Boston Works.
I was going to quiz you guys to make sure you knew that was Boston, but obviously you do.
Well, we had to look it up, at least if we didn't, to feature it. But we have some shout outs.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, before we go into it, because I know we want to talk about this one, we have shout outs to Emily from Kansas, Astra from the UK, Shane from Canada, Ken from Pennsylvania, Andrew from Colorado, Mark from Florida, Kelly from California, and Victoria from Canada, and everyone else you see showing up on the screen too. Hey, all.
Hi.
So that ad I forgot to mention is from DVB Chicago, which is doing a lot of work for Molson Coors right now. The director was Mike Warzin from Arts and Sciences, and VFX, visual effects by Legacy Effects. That is also the same company that it was behind Baby Yoda, I believe, right, Anne Christine?
Yes, and Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
So the thing I wanted to say about this ad was I think beer marketers are really challenged right now with marketing because of the current pandemic, and typically beer ads show a lot of socialization, right, and people coming together. So they need to figure out how to stand out while not necessarily encouraging irresponsible behavior. So I think this ad does that in a pretty creative way. It's a different kind of beer ad, which is kind of what we've seen from Michelle St. Jacques at Molson Coors. This is part of their Made to Chill campaign, which actually they came out with before the pandemic, but the line really kind of works nicely in this current environment because it's kind of positioning Coors Light as something just to drink while you're possibly sitting on the couch with one or two other people and actually chilling, not necessarily like at a raging party.
Yeah, or outside in the freezing cold. I mean,
Right.
everyone in the UK at the moment is like outdoor in pub gardens freezing because you're not allowed to socialize inside the pub with people that are not from your household.
I could also personally relate to the guy in the ad at the end, because I don't know about you guys, have been like just endlessly taking walks, and now the Christmas decorations are up. It's like the only way you can kind of get in touch with the holiday season now, just walking around looking at houses, right?
Looking at the Christmas lights if people put them up. But
Unfortunately, no one's cranking Boston in my neighborhood, but
I also love the details of the campaign. I don't know if we could zoom into the first shot, or to the first scene. So he's sitting there and he's a sad little snowman, and he has a sign that says beer man next to him. And I thought, so it's kind of like a guy sitting out on the street asking for beer, but then ultimately it becomes his name. It becomes the name of this character. And also he has that can of Coors Light stuck to his chest. It was like, did somebody give that to him? Or is he so sad that somebody just stitched it and it landed on his chest? It's like, there's so much to dig into here. But
I thought he kind of sums up how I'm feeling about Christmas this year. It's like, you're a bit broken, but when the time comes, you'll probably have a drink and sing some songs.
Oh, but also what's cool about this campaign, I mean, it's pretty typical of campaigns. It's not just a spot. There's merch too. Like if we could go back to that story, Coors Light is creating beer man ornaments. Unfortunately, I don't think they're selling them. I think they're passing them out to influencers. But it's so cute. Look at that. Look at that. Who wouldn't want that on their Christmas tree? And they're also passing out beer man kits. So you can build snow beer men in your front yards if you have snow. But as you mentioned, EJ, this is not the first cool Christmas campaign from Molson Coors, right?
right. They so a week or two ago they came out with a Miller Lite ad called "Farewell Work Holiday Parties," which is exactly how it sounds. Which is kind of, I guess, for a lot of us, a silver lining of the pandemic is maybe not having to suffer through uncomfortable parties. A lot of people probably don't like going to work Christmas parties, so that ad played into that emotion. And they actually also had a secondary element to that one. It shows there we have the story, but they actually kind of made statue versions, right, of these characters in this ad and actually put them on display, right, Anne Christine?
Yeah, they tapped an actual artist to create them, and they put them on display at LACMA. So it was this whole integrated thing where they created an art installation which became a spot, but it's also an experience. It's like you can't tell where the art begins and the art and commerce begins. It's art and commerce. The nice marriage of that, and that was cool because it underscores the idea of being together or not being able to be together in a way that stands out from the other ads that we've seen.
I guess my only question on both of these is there's sort of an undertone of like maudlin or depression a little bit in these.
Yeah.
It's just not what you see in beer ads. And maybe it works because they're just being real. I mean, if they tried to come out and pretend everything was great and hey, let's all, have a beer, that probably just gonna like not work in this current environment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you probably shouldn't be like implying that the solution to your sadness is to have a drink either.
Well, they beer markets have been skirting around those edges for years. So
Speaking of a sad year or being depressed, there was a campaign that kind of like was able to lift us out of that a little bit. Alex, you want to tell us about this next one?
Yeah, so this is a campaign from Reddit, and it's their first ever end of year wrap up. We normally see a few of these around this time of year, but in fact this year YouTube opted not to do one just because it's been such a terrible year. But Reddit did do one, and let's take a look at it.
We're all contagious, connected through the air. Fingers crossed and go and get some donuts if you dare. 1,000 rolls of toilet paper on the shelf. I'm quarantined from myself. Zoom for your birthday, Zoom for your school. Zoom, Zoom, swimming pool, golden rule. Say their names, draw the lines. Kobe, Chadwick, John Prine. Editors, creditors, redditors, imposters. All day in your jams. 3 cheers for the essential workers. 3 cheers for the cardboard fans. It's a burning time, a dumpster fire. A go with it, throw a fit at a tune choir. Triple your laces, fall down on your rear. It's a beautiful ride, never to be forgotten kind of year.
And I should say that's by RGA. And I think the music is so catchy.
Yeah, I feel like the music, the track, it ties it all together so well. It acknowledges both the highs and the lows, but the whole time it keeps it light. So it's a nice way to wrap it up, to end the year. It wasn't so bad, it didn't suck so much. There was good in there. We've seen stuff like that over the course of the year. The Spotify campaign, for example, its annual Wrapped campaign, celebrated the people who helped us endure 2020, who took us away from the stresses, or helped us decompress. That was another one that we saw kind of in that vein. The New York Times campaign from a while back, which acknowledged both the hard times as well as the more like everyday natural moments of what books should my kids read, balancing that with topics like Black Lives Matter or COVID. I think it's a good way to look back and be honest about what happens, and just remind people that whatever brand you are, you've been there all along.
So I have 2 questions about this campaign. One is, do we think that dumpster fire is a little bit too much of a cliche right now at this point? I know it's not it's in their chorus, but it's not like the centerpiece of that, but it's something I wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of dumpster fire. So it was in the Ryan Reynolds match spot that we featured last week. They were taking a selfie by a dumpster fire. And I'm sure
Alex, I think you wrote about this, how quickly things become cliche though these days. It's hard to avoid, isn't it?
Yeah.
So pivot and dumpster fire are 2 things that we can no longer ever say, ever.
My other question is, does this differentiate Reddit enough? Could we watch this? I know it's getting at sort of the topics that are discussed on Reddit, but is there enough? Could this be for any brand at this point? And maybe that doesn't matter, but I wanted to ask you guys.
I think the fact that they use the r/ as a design element throughout, I think it does. And
a little bit of branding there. Although I do think this is like the ad that YouTube could have done, and it's a missed opportunity for them because they chose not to wrap up this year. But actually, I think it's a good thing to wrap it up, and it shows that social media is not just about being funny and having uplifting moments. It's about the lows as well as the highs.
Yeah.
Our producer is also reminding us that I guess some of these things in the ad are stuff that really became inside jokes in the Reddit community. And I will fully admit I'm not a Reddit expert. I just wanted to raise that question.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for raising it. EJ, you want to read our shout outs?
Oh, sure. We've got Kathleen from my home state of Illinois, Stephen from New Jersey, Talis from Virginia, Andrea from Italy, Mahmoud from Iran, Ricardo from Mexico, Lisa from Maryland, and Judith from New York watching.
I also
today.
saw Benedicte from France. That's a cool name. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. So before we move on to our number one item, we have a bunch of other stuff that we want to talk about. So this is actually older. Last week we saw a spot from Microsoft that we wanted to definitely acknowledge. Can we take a look at that one?
Previously, whenever we've done this, we've kind of had to send out forms and have them back and things like that for the kids. How do we do that this way?
So that was a really adorable way for Microsoft to bring all of its products and services into one commercial with a dog.
Yeah, and tap into the pandemic puppy trend as well.
Yeah. But I thought that was a little sad though, because he's living in this fantasy that isn't real. So he has to go back to his sorry life eventually.
I also felt it was sad too at the beginning, seeing the people just sort of like isolated, and it kind of just, I don't know, it kind of plays into the negative side of gaming, perhaps, of just they didn't they look kind of sad and alone, even though they're all sitting in the same house, not talking to each other. And I felt like the only people having fun in that ad were dogs. And maybe what is Microsoft trying to tell us? I don't know, but there's a hidden message about dogs. Maybe, I don't know.
But it's cute, you know. We're suckers for dogs. But yeah, there was kind of a bit of a sadness to that one. Oh, also, if you guys want to check out all the work that we've been talking about, we have a QR code. We'll bring up a QR code. Just snap that, and it'll take you directly to that page for more information. So yeah. So moving on from dogs. We had this idea from Tropicana, meant to help parents who are trying to deal with the stresses of the pandemic. So, Alex, you want to tell us about this one?
Yeah, Tropicana created these mini fridges, which are disguised as other things like your bathroom cabinet or a tool chest, I think. And the idea is that parents who need a break from all the kind of stresses of homeschooling can hide their mimosa ingredients around the house in these mini fridges. And at first I thought, yeah, this is funny. It's a bit like the aviation gin homeschool edition. But then I was thinking, actually, I'm not sure about this, because you know, if say a parent really had an alcohol problem, that is exactly what they would do. They would hide stuff around the house, and it's kind of the stuff of nightmares for some families. So I'm not sure that Tropicana, which is not even an alcoholic drink, should be going here. Yeah,
it struck me too. I don't recall. Maybe there has been instances of co-brand, like kind of. I mean, there's not a partnership here. There's not a specific champagne brand, right? But putting orange juice in along with alcohol. I mean, orange juice obviously a very family-friendly type brand. It's definitely kind of pushing the boundary a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have seen that, like these family-friendly type brands trying to target different audiences, maybe younger audiences, millennial parents, maybe, like with the Craft Dudes campaign from a while back. So it's almost a little bit like playing with fire, you know, giving a little bit of edge to this mostly, you know, wholesome kind of brand. That said, Ocean Spray, you know, back when they honored Nathan Apodaca with his TikTok video that went viral, that was interesting too, because you know, his I think his handle was like a reference to cannabis, or and he was drinking cranberry juice, which is notoriously something to detox your system. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting to watch brands play in that gray area. You know, sometimes it can work, sometimes maybe it can't. I don't know. What do you think, EJ?
Did we see any backlash on Tropicana?
I don't remember.
You guys recall? I don't think we did, right? Or maybe people are kind of getting used to this in some respects.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember this is 7-Up has leaned into just the fact that it's like a mixer with alcohol, but that's more of a soda brand. It's kind of more expected than orange juice. I think orange juice does still have a very kid kind of sheen to it, right? I mean,
yeah.
So anyway, moving on to our next thing that we want to talk about. So KFC actually had another new kernel this week. We hadn't seen one in a while, right? But yeah, so this time it's Mario Lopez playing the Colonel in a Lifetime mini movie that's actually going to air, everybody. Mark your calendars at noon on Sunday. So he's starring as the Colonel in this Lifetime type saga. So what do you guys think of Mario Lopez as the Colonel?
I think he looks like a good Colonel.
I don't know.
I watch it.
I think everyone is going to eventually be the Colonel at some point, so you might as well get him out of the way now, and then we'll see who's next, right?
Yeah, so everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. Everybody will be the Colonel for 15 minutes.
Yeah, there will be maybe a Colonel cameo, or a reverse cameo where you could be the Colonel. Okay, wait, we should save these ideas.
I will say, I imagine the agency had a blast with this. How often do you get to create kind of a television script, right? I mean, right?
Yeah. I mean, but they've done everything though. They did a romance novel. Like, where else could they go? I don't know. The White House?
He could run. Yeah, he could run for president.
Actually, Trump might need a new job next. Maybe.
Yeah, he could be the new Colonel.
Is there he hasn't named an attorney general yet. Maybe the Colonel. I don't know. Biden. That's why they're waiting. They're negotiating the ad rights.
I think if you're going to have this love triangle, he could have gone like in a love triangle with Ronald McDonald and the Burger King. I mean,
oh my God. Okay, wait. Save these ideas. Wait, copyright.
Yeah, I should sell them.
Okay, so the next thing I want all of you guys out there to watch this. We're just going to play it straight because it's like the weirdest thing we've seen all year.
What the hell are you doing?
A Lifetime original mini movie.
You don't answer my proposal, and now you're not answering my call.
I think I'm falling for the new chef.
Jessica is falling for Harlan.
The cook? Leave Jessica alone and skip town.
He has a secret recipe that's going to change the world.
Harlan claims to have some secret recipe.
A secret recipe? Spare me.
We all have our secrets. If you marry my daughter, I promise there'll be more long weekends in your future.
Mom, I have to tell you something.
We have a problem.
Secret's out, chicken man. I'll take care of this. You're ruining everything!
Just kill him already!
Who the hell are you?
Harlan Sanders, the new chef.
Mario Lopez is Colonel Sanders in A Recipe for Seduction. Premieres December 13th at noon, only on Lifetime. Presented by Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Actually, that's not what I wanted to show, but we should have shown that trailer anyway. So that's just an appetizer of what's to come on Sunday, which it does look pretty good. I might actually watch it. But no, we actually have this new soda ad from the Philippines that we came across. It's actually a couple of weeks old, but it went viral, and we just want you guys to watch this. So watch this. Let us know what you think.
Ma?
Oo?
Ampun po ba ako?
Ha? Sino naman nagsabi sa'yo niyan?
Kasi ma, lagi na akong inaasar sa school eh. Ampun daw ako ma eh.
Anak, di ba sinabi ko sa'yo huwag ka magpapa-apekto sa sinasabi ng iba?
Pero ma, sabihin mo sa akin ma, ampun po ba ako? Ha? Ma! Ampun ba ako? Ha? May paliwanag mo to ma. May paliwanag mo, bakit may 4 na baso ako sa likod?
Matagal na namin itinago ito sa'yo, anak. Pero sa palagay ko pa na pinagmalaman mo.
I actually should have prefaced that with some of a description of what the characters are talking about. So the son is freaking out because kids at school are making fun of him because they're saying that he's adopted. So he's confronting his mom, am I adopted? And she's, her back's against the wall, so she has to reveal that I don't know if he's adopted, but that maybe he's not. I don't know. It's confusing. The issue is, am I adopted? No, you're not adopted, but you have glasses on your back and I have RC Cola as a head. But anyway, it's from an agency called Gigil in the Philippines. And I think Gigil in Tagalog means like strong emotion, strong reaction. And it went viral for a couple days in the country and people kind of going, what the fuck? It's kind of like, I feel like it's maybe the puppy monkey baby version of soda or of soda in the Philippines. So that was really interesting. And I reached out to the agency and asked them, what's the deal? What's the story? And they didn't really give a clear answer as to what's going on, but only that they're trying to target, a younger audience, Gen Z, and they're going where that audience goes. They're so consumed by social media, watching stuff on YouTube, TikTok, that the way to attract them is with this outrageous humor. And apparently, RC Cola needs to be more competitive because its biggest competitors have lowered their prices to match that of RC Cola. I think it's kind of a cheaper brand. But anyway, we're going to feature that on our site with more information on that. I just thought we all needed to see that this week. So what do you guys think of it?
We're not going to get those visuals out of our heads all weekend now. Thanks.
Yeah. But anyway, finally, we're moving on to our number 1 campaign. Actually, campaign. So, Alex, tell us about this first one.
Yeah, so both our number 1 campaigns this week come from McDonald's. And the first one is from Sweden, where the Swedish arm of McDonald's and the agency Nord DDB did something with one of its most famous symbols, the golden arches, offering to give fans a haircut in the style of them, because what they realized is that the famous floppy 90s style that some of us may remember from the likes of David Beckham, Leonardo DiCaprio, and for those of a certain age, probably your first college boyfriend. This actually looks like the golden arches. So they set up a physical salon in Stockholm where a stylist would do these haircuts, but actually you didn't have to go there. You could book it online and you could have a virtual consultation with the stylist, get your golden M haircut. And there was also a digital element where there was an AI app that would scan your photo and identify if you have one of these haircuts. And if you have the correct one, you could get a free Big Mac. And there's a little clip we can watch, I think.
Leonardo, Nick, Brad, Bex, Johnny, they all had the McDonald's logo on their foreheads. And now the most iconic hairstyle from the 90s is back in style. McDonald's decided to pay a tribute to all their ambassadors, old and new, by opening a barber shop. With only one style on the menu, the Golden M. A certified Golden M hairdresser guided people virtually. McDonald's also used artificial intelligence and machine learning to detect Golden M's. People with the do could use it to unlock another icon, a Big Mac. All this just to celebrate McDonald's subliminal ambassadors.
Interesting that the hairdresser didn't have the Golden M. But when this campaign came out, I surveyed our team, our Ad Age team, to see who had the Golden M. And only one person was brave enough to share their Golden M picture with us. And that is our editor-in-chief, Dan Perez. Can we pull? So that's on the left, that's him when he was a European editor at W Magazine with Karl Lagerfeld. And you can see it's a side view, but you can see he definitely has the Golden M / butt cut of the 90s. But now he looks a lot more polished. But it's interesting that McDonald's is so willing to play with its iconic arches in that fashion. And that shows how strong the equity of the golden arches is, I think. But that wasn't the only idea that we saw from McDonald's this week that was great. EJ, you want to tell us about this other one?
Sure, but before I do, on that campaign, I was wondering how Burger King control that. You know, maybe come and put the crown on those haircuts or something like that, possibly.
We'll see that next week, or actually in an hour, because Burger King is fast like that.
As long as I get my commission on that idea, right? Just kidding. Yeah, we saw another spot from McDonald's that stood out, which was kind of another execution on their famous orders idea, which I believe they started back in the Super Bowl, but in the Super Bowl pregame earlier this year, when they did an ad featuring the famous orders of people like Kim Kardashian, Magic Johnson. This one, since it's the season, uses that same theme, but takes a Christmas twist. Let's take a look.
No matter who you are, there's a deal for you on our app this holiday season.
So that one is, of course, from Wine and Kenny, New York. We actually had both McDonald's CMO Morgan Flatley and Wine Kennedy on our at our Ad Age Next conference earlier this week, and you can check out that coverage online. Plug, but they talked about the genesis of this idea and just the whole direction of their advertising, and it was sort of a really interesting lesson, I believe. They kind of realized that McDonald's had kind of gotten too corporate-y, and so their whole push was just let's lean into these kinds of things, right? Like that people have their favorite McDonald's meals, and the ad that started this back in the Super Bowl, I actually thought was worthy of in-game spot, probably. I mean, they were probably better than some of the ads we saw in the actual game. But that whole idea was kind of sparked their thing that was a really breakout hit, which was the whole Travis Scott meal campaign, which of course went viral and sold a lot of quarter pounders. What did you guys think about this ad in general?
Well, I definitely wanted to highlight it because it shows how enduring this idea has become, going all the way back to the Super Bowl pregame spot with this, at the time it seemed like a super cute idea, but it's grown into this massive platform now with the Travis Scott and the J Balvin partnerships, and being able to go back to these, these nice, charming executions tied to certain events like the holidays. So yeah, that's specifically why I wanted to honor that spot.
Yeah, it feels like an idea that could run and run. I mean, you could just keep coming back with new iterations of this and different famous characters at different times of year.
Which by the way, is kind of not too dissimilar from the KFC idea, right? In a sense, that this platform that can last forever, which of course is also widened, but of course they would tell you that those accounts are separated, right?
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's not totally original to see, what these celebrities are ordering. Postmates did it with their receipts campaign, but McDonald's to create its own version of their idea and use it on their massive platform, I feel like it's just going to have a lot of legs, in the vein of, like, for example, Apple's Behind the Mac campaign or Shot on iPhone campaign. It feels like something that's going to endure. So,
or it could even be like the Snickers, "You're not you when you're hungry." You can have any number of famous faces that can come back and breathe new life into it.
Yeah,
I do wonder. They haven't publicly talked about Super Bowl ad, but I gotta wonder if they're planning something like this for the actual Super Bowl this year, right?
Yeah, we will see, and maybe it'll be in game this year, if there is a game. But so that's it for this week. Thanks everybody for joining us once again, and make sure to tune into adage.com/creativity for more of the best ideas in brand creativity. And have a great weekend, everybody. And thanks for joining us, EJ.
Sure, I'm going to go back out in the hallway now. Thanks for letting me in.
Great to have you.